I explain all that to her in Korean. She just looks at me and she's like, foreigners can't. Hello everyone, it's Hara in Korea, and today I wanted to make a video about the 10 things that I hate about living in Korea. Before we get into this video, if you're not subscribed to my channel, I would greatly appreciate if you go ahead and do that. I also made a video about 5 things that I like about living in Korea, so you can also click on my channel or click somewhere up here to check that out if you're interested. And yeah, let's get into the video. Okay, so like I said, I did make a video about things I like about living in Korea. And there's a lot of things I like about living in Korea. So I don't want people to think that I hate living in Korea. If I hated living here, I wouldn't be here, okay? But Korea is not where I grew up, and there are just some things that I really cannot get used to and some things that really annoy me. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and talk about those things. So to start with, number 1, I hate how in Korea, bathrooms are 99% of the time cold. In Korea, the heating is usually floor heating, so the heat comes up from the floor and it doesn't usually make it to the bathroom. So this means that bathrooms are oftentimes freezing cold. In the summertime, fall time, springtime, this usually isn't much of a problem, but in the wintertime, it can be so annoying. Like if I go to a public bathroom at the train station, at a restaurant, something like that, the bathroom is always so cold. And sometimes, you know, if you're gonna be in the bathroom for a little while, you know, it's gonna take some time. You don't wanna wear your giant winter coat to use the bathroom, but it's so cold. So you'll be in there trying to use the bathroom, trying to go as quickly as possible, but sometimes that's not, you know, a possibility. And I'm just freezing cold sitting there. It's rough. It's rough in there sometimes. And another thing is, having to wear my jacket in some of the bathroom stalls in Korea is just ridiculous because some of the stalls are literally this big, you can't even turn around. And I know I'm not Korean sized, but I can't even imagine how some of the Korean people could comfortably use some of the bathrooms. I'm not talking about all of them, but yeah, a lot of bathrooms at restaurants are located outside the restaurant. Bathrooms at like KTX stations, bus stations, things like that. Every time I have to use the bathroom, in the wintertime especially, it is freezing cold. So the second thing that I hate about living in Korea is the trash bags. So each district has their own trash bag and their own color, and it says the name of the district on the trash bag. So you cannot use any other trash bags from different districts. And that's not that big of a deal. But in America, I'm used to having like a big trash can in my house, and you can just easily put everything you need to in that trash can and it'll last you like the whole week. In Korea, it's very common just to have a tiny little bucket for your trash can, and you put your 20-liter trash bag in the trash can. And I find myself having to take the trash out 3 to 4 times a week. And I just feel like it's just too much. And that can be a good thing because it means that I'm getting trash out of my house frequently. But at the same time, I'm constantly having to buy a bunch of trash bags. And I just miss having a giant trash can where I can put all my stuff for the entire week. Okay, the fourth thing that I hate about living in Korea is how Korea jumps on trends so quickly. So I know every country jumps on trends and, you know, that's normal. But I feel like in Korea, nobody even really cares about the trend. They don't even care if the trend is good. They just want to say they did the trend. And where I see this most commonly is with food. A few years ago, mint chocolate items were so popular. Everybody wanted to try mint chocolate things. They have mint chocolate drinks, of course mint chocolate ice cream, that's normal. Mint chocolate bread, mint chocolate chips, just mint chocolate everything. And everybody was going out and buying it. And I was like, who wants this? Is it even good? You know? As quickly as that started, the next trend came out. And once the next trend comes out, you don't hear anything about the previous trend. Like once mint choco was done, it was done. Okay, another example of this would be honey butter. Honey butter flavored things were so popular like 5-6 years ago. Everybody was on this trend. You could find honey butter bread, honey butter chips, honey butter drinks. I remember by the place where I used to work, there was a cafe specifically only for honey butter things. And that was so popular until suddenly it just wasn't. Okay, the fifth thing that I hate about living in Korea, and this is one of my biggest complaints, is when you order delivery food that is supposed to come with sauce, they give you 1 sauce, maybe 2 if you're lucky, but it makes me so upset. For example, if I order a burger and it comes with fries, it's a large fry. There's lots of fries in there. Why do I only get 1 ketchup? What am I supposed to do with that? And I've complained about this to my friends who are American, and they completely agree that it's ridiculous. But then my friends are married to Korean people, and I have a boyfriend who is Korean, and they think it's totally normal because when they eat their fries, they just lightly dip it in there, barely any ketchup on the fry. But for me and a lot of other people, you know, one fry, when I dip one fry in the one ketchup packet they give me, the ketchup's gone. I'm like, at least give 2 or 3. It's ridiculous. Every time I go to a restaurant, I'm always asking for more sauce. If I order chicken and the sauce comes on the side, they also only give 1 or 2 packets, and I'm like, come on, why are they withholding the sauce? I don't understand. That's probably one of my biggest complaints about Korea. Okay, the 6th thing that I hate about living in Korea is I kind of have a love-hate relationship with cafe culture. I appreciate that there's a lot of cafes in Korea, and on every corner you can find a cafe really easily. So if you're craving something sweet or some coffee, you can just easily go get it. And a lot of cafes have very pretty atmospheres and pretty vibes, and people go there to take pictures, right? But the thing I dislike about cafe culture is they're almost all the same. And so you're really just going there to get the picture and leave. And I'm not saying I don't do that. Okay, I have fallen victim to doing that, and I do that often myself. But if I'm going there to take a picture, or I'm going to that cafe and that is what my plan for the day is, I just wish every cafe in Korea didn't have the exact same menu. I want to go to a cafe that's unique because of the menu. I expect the coffee to be the same. I'm not asking people to switch up the drink options, but just the different food options. Every time I go to a cafe, I get so disappointed because I want to eat something, you know, sweet or delicious or some type of bread. And a lot of the time it's like you're gonna get salt bread or bagel, you know, those are your options, or some croissant with ham and cheese, or one of those sausage like rolls with like the bread wrapped around the sausage. I'm like, can't we have like delicious paninis, not just the frozen ones that you just stick in the oven for 2 minutes? Like, I want something good. And then all the desserts look very similar and the same no matter what cafe you go to. And I'm not saying there's not exceptions. Of course there's, you know, some exceptions, but a lot of the time all cafes have the exact same food items. Okay, the 7th thing that I hate about living in Korea is the lack of colors. So when you walk around Korea, these days I feel like it's getting slightly better, but Korea really likes neutral colors, and they don't like bright colors or colors that are going to make you stand out. So if you live in Korea, you will definitely know this is true. If you walk outside, it is very rare to see somebody in bright colors. Everybody's wearing tan, black, white, beige, gray, those type of colors. And it just kind of gets to be a bit like boring on the eyes. Most cars are all neutral colors. Buildings are all neutral colors. I'm just like, I just want something bright and happy, you know? Sometimes me and my friends, when we go out, we wear bright colors and I feel like we're standing out. Not that I really care about standing out, but it's just like, if I'm wearing something super bright, it's so obvious that everybody else is not, you know? And it really makes me realize like Korea just doesn't have a lot of bright colors. Okay, the 8th thing that I hate about living in Korea is throwing away trash at restaurants. So it was actually really funny when my boyfriend went to America and we went to a fast food place and he was carrying the tray and he was trying to figure out like, where do I throw the trash? And I was like, you just put it all in there. And he was like, wait, what? That's weird. You can do that? I was like, yeah, just throw it all in there. You don't have to separate it like in Korea. In Korea, when you have trash, every place is different. But for example, if I go to a fast food restaurant and I'm done eating, I have to put the forks in a certain place. I have to put the tray here. I put the normal trash in a certain place. I then have to pour out my ice and my drink here. I then put my cup in a separate area. I put my straw in a separate area. Like, sometimes it's just, it's too much. And I will say for the workers, it's probably more convenient because I remember when I worked at Dairy Queen, even though we put 2 trash bags in the garbage can, if people threw out an entirely full drink, then you have a leaky garbage that you have to carry all the way to the back of the store. So that's annoying, but I just feel like every time I'm in Korea and I'm like trying to clean up my tray at a fast food restaurant and there's people behind me, I'm like, oh, what goes here, what goes there? And like, not every restaurant is the same. So some restaurants have a special place for your cup, some restaurants don't. Some restaurants require you to dump out your drink, some don't. It's so confusing sometimes. Okay, the 9th thing that I hate about living in Korea is the medical care here. So in my previous video, I talked about about how I really liked Korea's healthcare system. And that is true. I do really like the basic healthcare system. No complaints there. But once you get past basic things when it comes to your health, I feel like Korea's healthcare system has a lot of flaws. For example, there is a medical strike going on between like trainee doctors because the government wanted to increase the quota for students that are allowed to enter med school in Korea. So the trainee doctors got upset and they're on strike. I don't remember how long that's been going on, but it's been at least a year or two. So because of that, there are a shortage of doctors, and that's very understandable, right? But it is crazy to me because I have read at least 3 or 4 stories where somebody is in a life or death situation. They are dying and they're in an ambulance in Korea and no hospital will take them. They'll get to the hospital and they'll say, nope, we can't take you here. Then they go to a different hospital. They're like, nope, we can't take you here. And so the ambulance drivers end up having to call multiple different hospitals trying to find a hospital that will take this person. And there have been cases where people died because they were waiting to get treated. And I just think it's crazy that the doctors could just say, no, you have to go somewhere else. I get if it's a situation that you really cannot treat, but if it's something like you could at least stabilize the person so that they don't die and then they could get the, you know, in-depth medical care they need. But some hospitals won't even do that. They'll just be like, nope, they can't come here. And I'm like, you're gonna let people die? So I've actually been so scared, like what if I get in a bad accident or something and I'm just being driven around to hospital and nobody will take my case. I just think that is crazy. Another thing about the medical system that I dislike in Korea is nurses are not your caregivers. And I'm not saying nurses should be caregivers. There should then be a, you know, nurse assistant that helps. And maybe it's different at certain hospitals, but from what I have gathered from Korean people who have had family members in the hospital, it's the family member's responsibility to do all of the caregiving and stuff. And if you can't do that, then you have to pay more money to get somebody to assist you while you're in the hospital. And I'm like, shouldn't that come with the medical care? I mean, I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong. I could be wrong. But I just feel like, what if I didn't have any family and I don't have a lot of money? Like, what am I supposed to do? Take care of myself while I'm like sick or dying? It just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Another less serious thing that I hate about the healthcare system here is not all doctors, but sometimes I go to the doctor, and since people come to the doctor so often, I feel like they're used to dismissing people's symptoms or just throwing medicine at them. But I feel like they overprescribe medicine. Whenever I'm sick and I go to the doctor and I get my medicine, there is so much medicine that comes in that package that is just not needed. I'm like, why are you prescribing these things? Just give me the antibiotic or the antiviral. That's it. That's all I need, okay? Like, I mean, of course, some things for your symptoms is nice, but they'll prescribe something for a headache, then nausea, then coughing, then this, then that, then this. I'm like, isn't there just one pill that can encompass all of that? Like, I just don't understand why I'm leaving the doctor with each day I need to take 15 pills. It doesn't make sense to me. All right, so number 10, the last thing that I hate about living in Korea is having to do banking as a foreigner living in Korea. So I've heard a lot of foreigners complain about banking in Korea. I know it's not just me. I do think that the bank I have is not necessarily the best option for foreigners. There's probably better banks. I keep the bank that I have because I can easily transfer my money back to America. Everything's already set up and I don't feel like going through the process to change it because that's what my first school originally signed me up with. But just to give you an example, my card was supposed to expire at the end of May. My bank, the bank that I use in Korea, is not close to me. I have to go an hour on the bus to get to the nearest bank. So because my card was expiring in May and I had vacation in February, I thought, why don't I just go to the bank and renew my card early? You know, you can do that in America. It's not a problem. So I go to the bank. They have me in there for 2 hours. They're calling other banks, doing all this stuff, like trying to figure out, can I renew my card early? And they're like, sorry, you have to come back at the end of May when your card expires. And I was like, I sat in here for 2 hours. And the reason I came today was because I was on vacation. Like, I can come today. Banks are not open on Saturday and Sunday. So on a weekday, I'm gonna have to take the bus an hour to come here and then rush back to get to work. Like, that's ridiculous. So I'm not a confrontational person and there really was nothing else I could do. So I kind of just left defeated. I decided to go to the that same branch of bank in that city, but a different location. So I went there. The moment I walked in, I explained to the bank teller what I wanted to do, and she just looks at me. She's like, foreigners can't. I was like, I want to renew my card. It expires in May, and I want to renew it now because I don't live next to the bank and I can't come here on Saturday or Sunday, and it's very hard for me to come here before work. I explained all that to her in Korean. She just looks at me and she's like, foreigners can't. I then said again, I don't live next to the bank. She's like, foreigners can't. Wait till the end of May. And she was rude too. Like, I was like, So I left and I started crying outside the bank, and I was just like, it's always foreigners can't, you know? Why can't I? What makes it so difficult? So then around April, I get a letter in the mail, and it's from the bank, and it says, your card's about to expire. You need to come into the office to do it. Foreigners cannot renew their card online, which means Korean people can renew their card online. I also found out Korean people can renew their card 6 months early. I was so frustrated. So on this paper, they're asking me for all this paperwork that I need to renew my card. I had to ask my boss to give me this paperwork, like a certificate of employment, and I needed proof that I had been in Korea for the past 6 months. And my boss even looked at the paper like, who needs all this? Are you getting a credit card? I was like, no, this is my debit card. She's like, this is ridiculous. I was like, I know. So I go to the bank to renew my card. Thankfully, my boyfriend went with me because I was like, I'm not playing games this time, okay? I need a Korean person there to help me. We get in there. The lady doesn't even look at any of my paperwork that I got, and she renews my card. But she's like, oh, because you're a foreigner, we can't add the T-money part to your card because my visa is gonna expire in March, at the end of March. And she's like, because of that, we can't put the transportation card on your card. So for the past 5 years, I've been using my card to tap when I get on the bus or the train instead of having to get like a T-money transportation card. And now suddenly I can't get it because my visa is gonna expire in like, I don't know, 8-9 months. When previously, when I renewed my card at a different branch, my visa was gonna expire in 2 months, and they added the transportation to the card. It's always so frustrating. It seems like nobody knows the rules here. You call one person, they'll tell you one thing. You call somebody else, they'll tell you something different. You go to a different branch of a place, the rules are different. And so I feel like they just make things up. They're like, foreigners can't do this. Oh, foreigners can do this. And it's just so annoying that nobody seems to be on the same page. But yeah, anyway, those were the 10 things that I dislike or hate about living in Korea. Again, please don't come for me too hard in the comments. Obviously, if I did not like living in Korea, I would not be here. There are so many great things about Korea. Korea has really become my second home. I love traveling around Korea. I love the convenience of Korea. Again, you can go check out the 5 things that I love about Korea up here. And it probably seems funny that I have 10 things that I hate and 5 things that I love. But there are lots of things that I love about Korea. But I feel like they only apply to me, so I didn't put them in the video. And also, sometimes it's just easier to complain because that's fun. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please let me know if you would like to see more videos like this in the comment section down below. If you have any questions about Korea, or if you have any videos that you would like to see me make, please also let me know in the comment section down below, and I'll see you guys later. Bye!